Congratulations. It's our 25th anniversary. Aloha and welcome to NLP and the Corona Virus, day 25. Wow, did we ever think that it would go on for this long? And who knows how much longer it's going to go on for. So yesterday, I took you through values. I was working with a client yesterday, and this was a real key piece, made a major difference to the client. So I thought, well, if it made a major difference for the client, it'd probably make a major difference for you guys who are watching. And I got some, some great feedback from that. And I want to give you lots of things to do over the weekend. There won't be a Facebook Live on Saturday and Sunday night because I'm doing a number of live stream presentations and events this weekend. So, and I know some of you really want to work on yourself and, really finding these Facebook Lives useful. So I want to give you a good number of things to work on over Saturday and Sunday so you don't miss me too much. Yeah. So we talked about the values yesterday, and I mentioned about eliciting values in all of these areas. And so it'd be these 8 areas here, and also life values if you want to do 9 values hierarchies. That'd be really phenomenal exploratory work. It'd really give you a deeper understanding of what your motivational hot buttons are. And just as a review, the question was what's important to you about life, what's important to you about money, what's important to you about, etc. Importance of going to the end of the second wave and then putting them into a hierarchy, getting the top 4 or 5 values, because they are the values that determine how you spend your time. So now what I'm going to do is, once you've done that, is to go to another level. We're going to get 2 more layers of information about your values. Okay, so the next level I want you to go to is that, let's say that you listed your business values, and this was your top 5: professionalism, results, satisfaction, money, and fun. Let's say that's an example. Now, quite often when people look at these, they go like, well, those values look really good. How come I'm not actually experiencing any of them? That's a good question. Could there be something lurking underneath those values which could be preventing you from getting those things? We'll investigate that. But also, values motivate you. And motivation comes in 2 directions. Motivation comes from away from, as in the things that you want to move away from, the things you want to avoid, and towards, as in the things that you want to move towards, the things that you want to have. And both of those work really, really effectively in motivating you. And it's the way that we actually use that motivation if there's away from and if there's towards. Here's the reason why. Let's just pick one of these that most people will understand. Let's say money. So money could be a motivator both away from and towards. Okay. An example of an away from on money was, I don't want to be poor. Okay. So what that's doing from a motivator is there's poor over here, and I'm wanting to move away from poor. But notice what I'm focusing on. Yeah. Don't want to be poor, 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 don't want to be poor. I'm focusing on poor. And as we know, the way the human mind works is it tends to get you what you're focusing on. So, just using away from motivation is a little bit like running 100 meters sprint backwards, running away from the start line. Not going to be that difficult. It's going to be pretty difficult, and you're likely to trip over, you're likely to go off track, etc., because your focus isn't in the right place. So, yes, we can use that away from to get us some traction. Yeah. Don't want to be poor, don't want to be poor, don't want to be poor. But once we've started to get some traction, what we then want to do is turn around, because I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, I want to be able to have all the things that I want. So we need to know what elements of each of these values is away from and towards, so that we then can use those, what I call motivational hot buttons, in the appropriate way. Get us started with this. If we're finding that we're not motivated, fire this off to get us going, to get us out of procrastination, to get us out of inaction, to get us out of inactivity. But as soon as we've started moving, as soon as we've got some traction there, immediately then turn us around to what that value is wanting to move us towards. Okay? So how do we find that out? So the question that you want to ask yourself for each and every value in each and every one of those values hierarchies. I did say I was going to give you a lot of homework to do this weekend. Yeah. But believe me, this will be really, really, really worthwhile, particularly when we put the final piece in the process on Monday, when we look at how we can use our values to define our goals. Okay. So we just use the example of money there. So I've written money in there, but it would be any of the values. It could be, why is professionalism important to you? Why is satisfaction important to you? Etc. So you ask yourself the question, why is a particular value important to me in the example I gave you as business, but it could be in relationship, it could be in health and fitness, it could be in life. Yeah. And then we're the quality control on our answers, if you like. So here's the things we've got, like we've explained already, we've got away froms and we've got towards. Yeah. So linguistically, when you ask yourself that question, why is money important to me in my business? If we get a negation, like the one I gave you, because I don't want to be poor, that's an away from. If it's a towards, it's stated completely in the positive, because I want to have the money to be able to do the things I want to do. If we've got a word that suggests necessity, like got to, have to, must, so why is money important to you in your business? Because I've got to have money. I have to have money. I must have money. I need money. Then that's a suggestion of an away from. To find the actual away from underneath that, if you get one of those words coming up, like have to, got to, must, need to, ought to, then you ask yourself the question, so what would happen if I didn't? Got to have money. What would happen if you didn't have money? Have to have money. What would happen if I didn't have money? Yeah. That will bring up the away from. And any of the away froms, you need to make sure that you write them down. In fact, for each of the values, you could write a little list. What are the away froms and what are the towards? If the value is totally towards, then you'll have words that suggest possibility. Like, because I want to have money, because I want to be able to buy all the things I want to be able to do. I want to go on holiday. I want to be able to support my kids. I want to be able to support my family, etc., etc., etc. Possibility, yeah, rather than necessity. Then the final one is a comparative, or what we would call in NLP a comparative deletion. So you say to yourself, so why is money important to me in my business? And the answer that comes up immediately is because it's better to have money. It's good to have money. Those are comparisons. And to make a comparison in your mind, you must be comparing what you want with what you don't want. And it's the internal representation that we're interested in. So if you got the answer because it's better to have money, then you'd ask yourself the question, better to have money compared to what? Good to have money compared to what? And the answer that comes up to that question will be the hidden unconscious underlying away from underneath that value. If there isn't a comparative deletion, then the value is towards. So the thing to do, and you'll find that, your values will have some away froms and some towards. Those are your motivational hot buttons. You press those buttons and it tells your unconscious mind, it tells your neurology, time to get motivated, time to take action. But we want to learn how to press our motivational hot buttons in the appropriate order and sequence to get the result that we want. And also we want to make sure that when we work on Monday around goals, then they are goals that actually align and utilize your motivational hot buttons of aways and towards. Okay. You might find that certain values are predominantly away from, or other ones are predominantly towards. Yeah. And, they could also be skewed at the moment by the experiences that we're having in the world today. We are being fed a lot of away from information that is going to have an impact on us. So what I want to talk about when we've got all these things on Monday is how we orientate ourselves to be able to focus on where we want to go. Admittedly, using these things, it's a little bit like, if you imagine doing this, like I mentioned before, not a great way of moving somewhere, but then being here and having these away froms pushers and the towards pullers, then that's going to create a really good amount of not only traction, but momentum to be able to achieve our goals. Then also, next step, next piece of information about these values is how will you know that you have the value? Yeah. So, for instance, how will you know that you have money? And the first answer that comes into your mind might be, well, because I'll see it in my bank account, or I'll have the house that I want, or I'll have the car that I want, etc. Yeah. So this is in NLP is called your evidence criteria. And so when we look on Monday about how we're going to use all this information, we're going to be looking at how do we set goals that satisfy or press our motivational hot buttons, and also goals that in the way the goal is formulated, it satisfies our evidence criteria so that we know that we've achieved the goal. I think sometimes because people haven't really asked how they would know that they got a particular value, they've set a goal and it's created a situation where they've actually achieved their goal, but they're not aware that it's satisfied their value, if that makes sense. Yeah. So there you go. There's some great homework for you. I tell you now, the majority of people on the planet today don't even know that they've got values, let alone what their values are. Many people in personal development know about values, but they just do the top level. They don't know about the underlying levels and all those kind of things. I really want to work with you in depth because this is the way that I work with my one-to-one clients, and it makes such a huge difference. So there you go. Do that homework. Please put some comments, some questions in the comment box below. And I'll see you again on Monday. And, wherever you are in the world, have a fantastic weekend. Love you lots. And hui ho. See you Monday.